Have you ever been driving late at night and for a split second you see something in your headlights that your brain just refuses to process? You tell yourself it was a deer, a weirdly shaped tree, a trick of the light. You gas it, heart racing, and you don't look back. But for 27-year-old Ethan Clark, looking back wasn't the problem. The problem was that the thing on the road already knew exactly who he was. This happened in the fall of 2023 on a stretch of highway in the Appalachian Mountains known as Blackwood Pass. It's a road local truckers avoid like the plague after sunset. They say the mountain eats people. Ethan was a skeptic, a no-nonsense kind of guy from Toronto working in tech. He didn't believe in skinwalkers, ghosts, or glitches in the Matrix. But on October 14th at 2:44 a.m., Ethan's reality didn't just glitch, it shattered. He was driving his old SUV back from a friend's wedding. He was tired, sure, but he wasn't tripping. The road was bone dry. Then he saw her, a woman in a long, flowing white dress standing right on the edge of the shoulder. And that's when his world turned upside down, because when she turned her head toward him, she didn't have a face. No eyes, no nose, no mouth. Just smooth, pale skin, like a mannequin wrapped in silk. But then, without a mouth, she spoke. And she didn't just scream, she whispered one word that made Ethan's blood turn to liquid nitrogen. Ethan. Ethan didn't wait to hear a second word, he floored it. He pushed that SUV to 100 on those tight mountain curves, nearly flying off the cliff twice. He didn't stop until he reached a 24-hour gas station 30 miles down the mountain. He was shaking so hard he couldn't even grab his wallet. The cashier, an old guy named Arlo, who'd seen 1,000 mountain-spooked tourists, just took one look at Ethan and handed him a glass of water. "You saw the lady, didn't you?" Arlo asked. Ethan tried to speak, but his throat was like sandpaper. She didn't have a face, man, and she knew my name. How is that even possible? I've never been to this state in my life before. Arlo leaned in, his voice dropping to a gravelly whisper. "She doesn't need eyes to see you, son, and she doesn't need ears to hear your soul. Up here, the mountain remembers everyone who ever crossed it. But it's not just a ghost, that's a claimer. If she said your name, she's already put a mark on you." Ethan thought the old man was just messing with him, classic rural creepy talk to freak out the city boy. He stayed in a motel that night, locked the door, pushed a chair under the handle, and eventually fell into a feverish sleep. He woke up at 4 a.m. to a sound at the window. Tap, 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 tap. He pulled back the curtain just an inch. Outside in the motel parking lot, under the buzzing neon sign, she was there, standing by his car, the woman in white. She was perfectly still, her faceless head tilted at an angle that would snap a human neck. He looked at his car window. Written in the condensation from the inside was his name, E-T-H-A-N. Ethan didn't go home to Toronto. He couldn't. He felt like if he left the mountain, whatever this thing was would follow him back to his apartment, his job, his life. He needed to know why he was chosen. He spent the next 3 days in the local library of a tiny town called Oakhaven. He started digging into the history of Blackwood Pass. And guys, this is where it gets legit terrifying. In 1978, a bus carrying a high school choir was gone off the side of Blackwood Pass during a freak blizzard. Most of the kids were rescued, but one girl, a 17-year-old named Clara Vance, was never found. Clara was known for her voice. They said she could sing like an angel. But the tragedy wasn't just the crash. The survivors told a story that the police dismissed as hypothermia-induced hallucinations. They said that after the bus hit the ravine, a woman in white appeared from the woods. She didn't help them. She walked up to each student and whispered to them. But the survivors said that as she whispered, their own faces started to disappear, like they were being erased.
One survivor, who died in an asylum in the 90s, left a diary. Ethan found a copy of the police transcripts. The survivor wrote, "She has no face of her own, so she takes ours. But she only takes the names of those who are meant to replace what was lost." Ethan felt a cold pit in his stomach. He looked at the list of passengers on that 1978 bus. He scrolled down the names. Thomas Clark, Sarah Miller, Ethan Vance. Ethan froze. His father's name was Thomas Clark, his mother's maiden name was Sarah Miller, and his own name, Ethan. He'd been named after a cousin who supposedly died in infancy. But according to these records, Ethan Vance wasn't a cousin. He was Clara Vance's younger brother, a boy who had died on that mountain in 1978. Ethan called his dad. No, "Hey, how's it going?" Just straight to the point. "Dad, were you on a bus in 1978 on Blackwood Pass?" The silence on the other end was heavy. It lasted for a full minute. Then his father's voice came through, sounding broken. "We promised never to speak of it, Ethan. We thought if we moved to Canada, if we changed our lives, the mountain would forget." "Forget what, Dad? Who is the woman in white?" "It's Clara," his father whispered. "She didn't die in the crash. Not at first. She was trapped under the bus. We could hear her calling us, but the fire was spreading. We were kids, Ethan. We were scared. We ran. We left her there to burn." Ethan felt like he was going to vomit. "But she has no face. Why?" "The fire," his father sobbed. "The fire took her face. But before she died, she made a sound that wasn't human. She cursed everyone who walked away. She said she would wait. She said she would take from us what we took from her, a future." Ethan realized the woman in white wasn't just a ghost. She was a debt collector. His father had escaped, but the mountain had been patient. It had waited 45 years for the next generation to return. And then he heard it, a humming sound, distant, but like a lullaby coming from inside his own head. He looked around the library. The lights were flickering. The other patrons, they were gone. The librarian was gone. The only thing left in the room was the smell of wood smoke and old burnt silk. He looked at the exit. Standing in the doorway was the woman in white. She was closer now. He could see the texture of her skin. It looked like scorched parchment. She raised a hand. A long, spindly finger pointed directly at Ethan. "Brother," the voice echoed. Ethan knew he couldn't outrun a curse. This thing had been waiting for him since the day he was born. He did the only thing he could think of. He went back to the source. He drove back to the exact spot on Blackwood Pass where he first saw her. The air was freezing. His breath came out in thick plumes of white. He stepped out of the car. "Clara!" he screamed into the abyss. "I'm here! I didn't leave you! I wasn't even there!" The fog parted. She was standing on the guardrail, hovering over the 1,000-foot drop. Up close, the facelessness was even worse. It wasn't just smooth skin. It was like a void that sucked in the light around it. She stepped off the rail, but she didn't fall. She floated toward him, her movements jerky like a broken puppet. As she got closer, Ethan felt a searing pain in his own face. It felt like his skin was being pulled by invisible hooks. He looked in the side mirror of his car. His eyes were fading. His mouth was sealing shut. She was stealing his face in real time. "Take it," Ethan roared, tears of blood streaming from his fading eyes. "Take my face, but leave my soul. You want a life? Take mine. Just stop the curse." The woman in white stopped. She was inches from him. He could smell the ash. He could feel the heat of a fire that had been burning for nearly 50 years. She reached out and touched his cheek. For a second, the faceless void changed. For one heartbeat, Ethan saw a beautiful girl with bright blue eyes and a radiant smile. Clara. She looked at him with a mix of unspeakable sadness and cold, hard hunger. She didn't take his life that night. She leaned in and whispered into his ear. A secret, a truth about his own family that was so dark, so messed up, that it made the ghost look like a saint. Meanwhile, Ethan sat in a hospital bed, his face heavily bandaged. His doctors told him that the burns were absolutely horrific. A fire at night sounded fine, but the fact that his face had chemical burns, like something from an industrial furnace, was the real mystery. He survived, but Ethan Clark is not the same man. He doesn't speak. He can't. His mouth never fully reopened, and his vocal cords are scarred beyond repair. He lives in a high-security psychiatric wing now. But here's the kicker, guys, the real no-cap moment that'll keep you up at night. Every night, at exactly 2:44 a.m., the security cameras in Ethan's room glitch out. For 5 minutes, the screen goes to pure white static. When the feed comes back,